Shady, the Giants fans and NFL fans have to be curious about this because what Daniel Jones just got paid impacts what your quarterback will be paid. So make sure you dial into this question. Did the Giants overpay for Daniel Jones?
160, 82.
Carry that one, though. Make sure you do your math, right?
I'm gonna say that's a solid number for him. I'm gonna say a solid number because Derek Carr got what? Got $37 million yearly, and Daniel Jones got what? 40. That's about right. Had a better year, and he has a promising future for the most part. I think with Brian Daboll having a coach like that, he's shown that he can win games. He can win a playoff game, and they don't have their roster yet. It's a new coaching staff, so I like this deal for him. And the best part why I like this deal is because now you could keep Saquon Barkley, right? Who's really the offense. If he can stay healthy. And then you franchise tag him, so I think he's at $10 million at that number, so you keep him there. And then next year you probably pay him, but you make him earn it. I think one more year for Saquon Barkley at the level he played at this year, you got to pay him. So, I kind of like the deal. I just think that maybe the guarantee, you probably could have got it like maybe 70, right? But, at negotiations, you don't get everything.
Correct.
I'm sure Daniel Jones went in there like, look, man, hey, I want $45 million, yearly.
Yeah, sure.
I want 185 total.
Got to get 2 suites.
Yeah.
You got to get 2 suites.
The best part about the negotiations are you get what you want for the most part, and they get what they want, and they meet in the middle, and they sign the deal.
Shady, I'll be honest, big dog. I think the Giants overpaid.
It is pricey, though. It is pricey.
At the end of the day, I look at it as a 2-year, $82 million deal. I won't bog y'all down with numbers. I don't find that to be sexy on television, so I'll just bog y'all down with some truth. Brian Daboll, to me, is one of the most brilliant offensive minds in football. Former offensive coordinator for LeSean McCoy, now head coach for the New York Giants. Why don't I love him acquiring Daniel Jones for the next 2 years, really, 4 years if you want to go that route? If you are too much more talented than your player, then you are hamstrung by your player's talent. Daniel Jones has never had more passing touchdowns in a season than games played.
Yeah, I knew that.
Never. He played 16 games last year. He had 15 passing touchdowns. He played 11 games a year before. He had 10 passing touchdowns. He played 14 games a year before. He had 11 passing touchdowns. So in these last 3 years, he hasn't had more passing touchdowns than games played. So if I'm Brian Daboll, and I am this mad scientist, if you will, I can only be as good as my talent.
Right.
Like, if you are I went to my first NASCAR race. Is that what they're called? NASCAR race? One of my first NASCAR race.
Yeah, NASCAR.
My first one. One of my first one. One of my first one at the Coliseum. I think it was a month and a half.
You went to that, yeah.
At the Coliseum.
Did you bet?
No.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't know that.
It's a really cool race.
It's
I went last year.
Super dope race.
I like the bet.
But what's fascinating is if you take one of those drivers and put them in one of my Monday through Friday cars, they're limited by the vehicle.
Sure.
They can only go as fast as the car.
All of your cars?
I said with my lower.
I
hate
You gotta listen to every word.
I hate
He's a
both of them.
wordsmith.
Both of them are hated. So my point is, and the only reason I bring up that analogy and then I'm done is, if the NASCAR driver is limited by the vehicle, then Brian Daboll is limited by the quarterback. And now if you're tethered to the quarterback for 2 more years, I just don't think that is great for Brian Daboll. Joy?
Okay, so this is more analogies. Quote my good friend Colin Cowherd. You don't go cheap on transportation or toilet paper. You travel, you have things that you prioritize, right? For me, it's transportation and a hotel. I'm not staying in a cheap hotel. I'm not going to skimp on how I'm going to get there because I want to get there refreshed, and I want to wake up every morning refreshed.
True.
I don't want to hear things through the walls. I want to sleep in some nice sheets. Maybe I won't do as much shopping on this trip if it's an expensive one, because that's a luxury.
True. Okay.
So you got to pay for the things you need, and the market is the market.
See where she's going.
So maybe Daniel Jones is a little expensive, but that's a quarterback. So you might have to pay him a little more money than you would like to pay him.
That's good.
I don't think Daniel Jones is really a top quarterback in the league. I think he's good enough. He's shown that he was good enough this year. Now he's got a whole off season in the system. They're going to add some more pieces around it. He'll get better. But what you can't do is not have a quarterback. What you can't do is not have a flight to your destination.
Right.
What you can't do is not have a place to sleep when you get there. This is an expensive thing to have. It's why I just said I don't have sympathy for organizations who don't budget to pay their quarterback. How are you going to buy a house and then be surprised when the mortgage payment shows up? Well, I pay this? What What's this bill for?
They tripping. Yeah.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So I know it's a lot of money. It feels like a lot of money for Daniel Jones, but the Giants were relevant last year. That's important. It's important to be competitive. It's important to be competitive in New York. I'm sure it's important to Brian Daboll to continue to put out a good product and build his organization. And Daniel Jones is a good culture guy. He works hard. He feels like he has a lot to prove, and he did that this year. He deserved to get paid. Maybe it's a little more than he wanted to, but I also disagree with the 2-year thing. If he turns out to not play well this year, which I don't anticipate he will, I think he'll have as good of a year as he did last year or better. But let's say he's terrible this year. There is no such thing as an immovable contract. There's been so many. Remember Jared Goff? Oh my God! People were losing their collective minds over Jared Goff. Where's Jared Goff play right now?
Hey.
Does he play in Los Angeles or does he play in Detroit? They figured it out.
We're talking about Aaron
All these
Rodgers.
contracts can be moved.
Aaron Rodgers is about to go someplace.
Is about to get moved. Yeah. So this is reasonable. You want him for this year, even if you don't want him for next year, and you bring in a rookie or whatever. There's always somebody who's going to be in the market for a quarterback.
I don't think it's that pricey, and I don't think they made a mistake. And I also don't think that they really committed to Daniel Jones. To your point, he has a bad year. They can move that. And 2 years to me is not a commitment. It's a bridge, right?
Yeah.
And but I'm really curious because I look at the price point. The reason I don't think that it's pricey is because I look at what he did last year. He was right behind Justin Herbert in passer rating. He was. I know that probably touches something with you.
Don't get me started. I'm staying out of trouble. I'm staying out of trouble.
But right there with Derek Carr in terms of passing yards, top 5 in completion percentage. And you keep going to how many passing touchdowns he had.
You're right. He had rushing.
Yeah, 22-5. I mean, distinctly different. And what I'm really curious is you think that Brian Daboll is being hamstrung because Daniel Jones is a limited quarterback.
Yes, sir.
I don't know that they would make this deal if Brian Daboll agreed with you because I feel as if we haven't seen all of Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And Daboll is the one who has to believe, no, there's more there that I can unpack
I agree.
and utilize.
But let me give you this. Let me give you this. And Shady, I'm very interested in your input before we have to ride out on this one. If I'm Brian Daboll, I adopted Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones at the time of adoption, if you will, literally, figuratively speaking, ride with me, 12 wins, 25 losses. 62% completion percentage.
Just career?
Yes, career. I'm giving you a whole career. 12 wins, 25 losses, 62% completion percentage, and 60 touchdowns, 34 picks. If I can turn that into a guy who has 22 total touchdowns, 5 picks, if I can turn a 62% completion percentage into a 67% completion percentage, if I can turn a guy who has a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio into a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, imagine what I could do with somebody who was just starting out as good. Slick, we talked about this ad nauseum before you were on the show, is Daniel Jones was not perceived to be a franchise quarterback.
He wasn't. Nope.
By anybody. Not even the Giants, or they would have picked up his very cheap 5th-year option, roughly $19 million.
Maybe the Mannings.
But if I'm Brian Daboll, if I could turn that into this, imagine what I could do with something greater. That's just where I'm at.
And that's a great way to look at it. Or you could look at it, well, man, if I did this with him, because he might have a good quarterback coach or a good offensive coordinator, and I see more potential in him. Because one thing about Daniel Jones, he can run too now.
Yeah, he can.
Right? And he's safe with the football when he has a good coach with him. So Brian Daboll, he can look at it the way you said it. Or, well, man, if I got a solid quarterback that I got a lot of potential left, I get the running back with the franchise tag. Now I can address some of my other big issues I have on offense, on defense. Because they don't have no number one wide receiver.
Yep.
Daniel Jones, and I got to give him credit because I didn't think he was this good.
But how good is he?
But hold on for a second. I don't think nobody thought he was this good. Right? You get a solid coach, and you see how good he really is. But check it out. He did all that with undrafted players, free agents. I'm talking about free agents on the block during the season. He didn't do that with no superstar wide receivers, right? Kadarius Toney left and went to the Chiefs. He was their best player on offense, I felt like, as a wide receiver. So now if you could touch that room, the wide receiver room, you get some defensive players, some offensive linemen, now you got a ball game.
Here's my thought, though, 2-5, and this is what always frustrates me. I know we don't have a ton of time, is I believe quarterbacks and wide receivers are they're both dependent upon each other to some degree.
Okay.
Kadarius Toney, for whatever reason, the Giants moved on. Chiefs sure benefited from him. Kenny Golladay, remember Kenny Golladay had 2,000-yard seasons with the Detroit Lions?
Yeah.
He was that huge signing for the Giants. Nothing happened.
Right.
So the Giants tried to do what you all speak of oftentimes, Joy and Shady and even you, Slick. They tried it with free agency with Galladay, and they tried it with the draft with Tony, and they went a big 0 for 2. So I'm wondering, like...
But that wasn't Daboll on them that picked him.
No, it wasn't.
That's the difference.
Yep.
Now he get to go out there and pick his players that he wants to go with Daniel Jones.
If you didn't get the right draft pick or the right free agent, you're just going to stop bringing in
I'm just wondering
positions?
how much of that is on Daniel Jones. That's really what I'm
I think some of
alluding
it
to.
was, but this year they didn't really have a lot of high-level skill positions outside of the running game.
Yeah.
So they're going to upgrade their roster this year. Again, it'll be another year with Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones working together. Yep. Another offseason.
His first real offseason, too.
His real offseason with him. Yeah, so that development process, that matters, too.
It absolutely does.
You didn't get married. You just got engaged.
Yeah. You're right.
Right.
That's a good one. Ring.
Yeah.
I'm good with them. The wedding rings and that, that's tough. But the promise?
Promise rings were big in high school.
Why'd you have to go?
Promise rings, promise necklace.
That's why I'm going to. I'll take this one.
Yeah.
I'll take this one.
Like a promise necklace?
Yeah.
What's the level? Is there a commitment there?
What?
No.
I promise to be. Yes.
What? Yes.
I promise to always be dedicated to
really
you.
I
say I promise to always be dedicated to you. That's my line.
Is there like a ring band?
Wait, we gotta go to break because I don't want nobody knowing.
Is there like just get educated?
I mean, you don't still give out promise rings. That was like high school.
No, I still give out promise
okay.
stuff. Because I'm not ready to be a committed relationship. You're not either. But we got the promise. Yeah. So I promise to give myself to you.
Baby, I promise.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Get some flowers, some chocolate. You know what I mean?
You were on key.
Come on.
You taking singing lessons?
No.
You don't leave me hanging, I swear.
I thought you were holding the microphone.
No, you're on key. You're like, I respect that. I'm proud of you.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.